Hey, pre-algebra students, this is a follow-up to our lesson from yesterday on understanding proportional relationships. If you don't have your iPad out and open to OneNote, please do that right now. These are your notes for lesson 2-5. So just to backtrack a little bit, this is all the work that we did yesterday, so this should look familiar to you. Please scroll all the way down until you get to the practice and problem solving. Okay, I know some of you have already seen this, but I am going to go through it again as a quick review. So I want you to look at problems 6, 7, and 8. So problem 6 says Sam and Bobby want to know who cycled faster. The table shows the total miles that Sam traveled over time. The graph shows the same relationship for Bobby. Who cycled faster? So the first thing I want to remind you, yesterday we were talking about what are the different ways we can compare proportional relationships. So here we have a table that shows the number of miles that Sam traveled over time. And then we also have a graph that shows the same relationship for Bobby. So those are our two different representations. So it says find the unit rate or constant of proportionality for Sam. So again, remembering that those two things are the same. So for Sam, remember we said yesterday that in order to find the constant of proportionality from a table, it's y over x. So that's why we're doing 20 over 2, which is 20 divided by 2 is not 2, friends. How about 10? That is 10 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour. Find the unit rate or the constant of proportionality for Bobby. So in the table, we want to look for two clean points of intersection. So for example, I see one right here at 2:18. And I see another one right there. Ooh, that's the number right between 4 and 6. So that is 5. It looks like we're counting by 9. So 36. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 9 is 45. So that would be 545. I had to think about that for a minute. Okay, so 545. So they want to know what is the unit rate. So remember here we're doing rise over run. We talked about that yesterday for a graph. It's rise over run. So from 18 to 45, 1, 2, 3 times 9, I think that would be 27, okay? So you can use a calculator, 45 to subtract 18. 45 minus 18 should be 27 because each one of those little boxes equals 9. And then from 2 to 5 is 3. So it's 27 miles in 3 hours. So the answer is, oops, I was supposed to give my actual unit right there. So our rise over our run is 27 divided by 3, or 9 miles per hour. Okay, so let's see, if Sam is traveling at 10 miles per hour and Bobby is traveling at 9 miles per hour, it looks like Sam is traveling at a faster rate. For number 7, the equation y equals 15x can be used to determine the amount of money that Polly's Pizzeria makes by selling X number of pizzas. So I'm going to start by highlighting this equation for Polly's Pizzeria. And then our second representation is the graph, which shows the money for Leo's Pizzeria over here. So Leo's Pizza takes in a different number of pizzas sold. Which pizzeria makes more money? Okay, so in the equation, for Polly's, remember we said the unit rate is the number that is right before the variable x, or when x equals 1. So when x equals 1, Polly's Pizzeria is selling pizzas for $15, takes in $15 per pizza. Over here, now, in the graph above, we did rise over run. You can also, if you can see it, and I told a couple of you this yesterday when we were doing the IXL, if you can see the point at which x is 1, you can just use that. So that's right here. If the second number up is 24, that means we need to do half of that, which is 12. So Leo's Pizzeria is taking in $12 per pizza. So therefore, Polly's is making more money per pizza. All right, now I know none of you did number 8, so let's make sure we look at number 8. The graph shows the amount of savings over time in Eliana's account. This reminds me of one of my favorite students I had in class last year. Her name was Eliana. Lana, meanwhile, puts $50 a week. Okay, so this is Lana, $50 a week into her savings account. If they both begin with $0, who is saving at a greater rate? Okay, so let's start with Eliana. If we look at her graph, let's see, we would have to do right here at this point, right here at this point where X is 1. We can also do rise, overrun for any of these points, but I can see the value at which X is 1. So I'm looking for this number right here. So that means I need to take the 94 and divide it by 2. So 2 times 4 is 8. So that means we're counting by 47s, if I did my math correctly there. So Eliana is saving, let me fix that. $47 per month. Okay, and then Lana, remember it gave us this information in the problem, is saving $50 per month. Okay, so it says who is saving at a greater or a faster rate? Well, of course, by looking at those two, that would be Lana. She's saving more money per month. Okay, so before I move on, I have something super important that I need to make sure I address with you. And actually, this problem kind of led me into this really well. Do you see how right here it says both of them began with 0? Okay. Down here, please write a note. Proportional relationships begin at 0. Always, 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 always. Okay? So when you look at the graphs, and some of you might have picked up on this, the graph must pass through the origin. Hold on one second. I'm going to fix this. Okay, please write this down. But first I'm going to show you. So now that we've looked at a whole bunch of graphs in these notes, if you backtrack, look at every single one of the graphs we've looked at intersects right here at the origin. Every single one of them. Keep going back in all of our notes. 0, 0. This graph intersects at 0, 0. This graph intersects at 0, 0. This graph intersects at 0, 0. Oh, so does this one. And all the way back up to the very first example in our notes. Every single graph intersects the origin at 0, 0. So, as a reminder, in order to be a proportional relationship, the graph must pass through the origin. Okay, so that's super important to remember. All right, we're going to look at one more problem, and that's because you have one like this in the Math Excel that you're going to be working on today, and that is problem number 9 right below this. It says Beth, Manuel, and Petra are collecting sponsors for a walkathon. The equation y equals 20x represents the amount of money Beth raises for walking X amount of miles. The table shows the relationship between the number of miles Manuel walks and the amount of money he will raise. Petra will earn $15 for each mile that she walks. So part A says, in order to compare the proportional relationships, what quantities should you use to find the unit rate? Okay, so remember, just looking at the table, we talked about the fact that in a table of values, X is always on the left and Y is always on the right. And we always want to do the Y divided by the X. So it's going to be the money raised. So if we can just write money divided by the number of miles. That's how we're going to find our unit rate. Okay, and remember, unit rate always means 1. So per 1 mile. That's what we're looking for. Okay, part B says, compare the amount of money raised per mile by the 3 people. Okay, so I'm just going to go out. We need probably a little more room. So let's go in the margin and let's just organize our 3 people. So we have Beth, we have Manuel, and we have Petra. Those are our 3 people. So for Beth, it says this equation represents the amount of money that Beth raises, y equals 20x. Well, remember I told you that the number in the equation right before x represents the unit rate. So that means that Beth is raising $20 per mile. Okay, let's go to Manuel. Manuel is represented in the table over here, okay? So this is Manuel right here in the table. He is raising $45 for 3 miles, $75 for 5 miles, so on and so forth. So remember, for a table, we're going to use our equation, y over x. So Manuel, we can use the first value that we see there, the 45 divided by 3, and I believe that's 15. So that means he is earning $15 per mile. I don't know what I was starting to write there, but I'm going to fix that. Okay, and then Petra is down here at the bottom, and go back to the word problem. It says Petra's earning $15 for each mile that she walks. Okay, so she's also earning $15 per mile, and we don't have to do any work for that because they just told us. So the question says, compare the amount of money raised by the 3 people. So if I were comparing these, I would say that Manuel and Petra are earning the same. Whoops, Petra. Okay, but Beth is raising the most. Okay, Manuel and Petra are earning the same or raising the same amount of money, but Beth is raising the most money. Sorry, my handwriting looks a little sloppy today. I apologize for that, but I think you guys get the idea. So what I want you to do when you are finished here is back up out of here. There are 2 assignments that you are going to work on. One of those is the 2-5 practice, so you're going to click on this. These problems are very similar to the ones that we worked, so you are going to work on this. And you are going to submit this to Canvas. Okay, so there are just 5 of those. And then you also have an assignment in Canvas, which is called the 2-5 Math Excel. So both of those things to do for me today. Okay, so please make sure you use your time wisely in order to show your understanding of this lesson. And we'll review when I see you on Monday.